Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do a scrapbook page. This was actually from back in, I think it was either June or May. And I wanted to share the layout with you, but I wanted to share a story at the same time. So instead of telling you throughout the video about what I'm doing, I'm going to be sharing a true crime story. So that's why this is called the Craft and Crime Stories series. This is going to be video 1. So, and I'm sure this will be tweaked as we go along. So just bear with me and join me on this new ride. This is going to be really interesting, okay? So I've been watching a young lady by the name of SARIAN and a lady by the name of BRITTNEY VAUGHN. They both do makeup and true crime stories. I've always been a true crime, probably, I guess it would be fan in a way. And I don't mean fan because, you know, usually with true crime, a crime has happened and either someone has lost their life or like not that kind of way. I guess it's more in the story itself, like interested in why people do what they do, what happened to these poor victims, the twists and turns of stories. It's always intrigued me. I liked puzzles, and I definitely like watching, you know, stories like The First 48 and Cold Case Files. I'm trying to think of all the different shows. More the shows that are based in reality, you know, or off of like true stories. I really like those documentaries, stuff like that. And I was watching the 2020 episode about this story in particular, and when I start, which I'm about to soon, I am going to start sort of more in the middle, like right at the most important part to me, which is what happened to the kids and thereafter. I don't know if you guys have heard of Lori Vallow, but Lori Vallow, oh, let me tell you, she, and no judgment as far as like how many husbands she's had, but she's had quite a few husbands. And so she obviously loves marriage, or the idea of whatever marriage is for her. And she wound up having 2 biological children, and she adopted a 3rd child by the name of JJ, her daughter Tylee. And she had an older son. I want to say his name was Colby. But in the story, when everything is happening with Tylee and JJ, Colby's already gone and has his own life. So he's not here for all of the shenanigans that are about to ensue. So I just happened to realize when I was reading through, I got the story, and there's a lot of the story in, I'm going to say, I researched this back in August, and I got the most of the information from ABC News. Now, granted, what I was going to say, you can find information about this story everywhere, and everybody has different views. I know ABC in 2020, that was the episode that I saw that I thought was very in-depth, and I liked the way that they shared the information. And I watched it twice, the episode, because I just, that kind of stuff kind of like, so with this series, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do true crime stories. I'm also going to do stories that maybe you can find if they did like a special on Netflix or something like that. And wherever or whatever we're talking about, I will always try and tell you where you can find it. And if I can, I will link it down below. So we're going to hop on into this hot mess of a story right at the point where Lori Vallow's husband, which I believe is husband number 5, Charles Vallow, right? He's the one that brings JJ into her life because JJ is, I want to say, the grandson to his sister, and for whatever reason they couldn't take him in, and he was like, I'll take him, the more the merrier, because Charles Vala, the way everyone talked about him was pretty much like, you know he was a really, really good guy. Okay, so he was killed in July of 2019. Now, supposedly, Charles Vallow was killed by Alex Cox, who is Lori's brother, in self-defense. So he claims that Charles Vallow was coming at him with a bat and he didn't have any other choice. And he's told this to his mom, Janice Cox. He told her, he would do anything basically to protect Lori and Tylee. Don't forget JJ is there, okay? But I guess he did. The police at the time did not arrest Alex Cox, but one of the detectives there said that he remembered thinking at the time that things just didn't feel right. There was something off, but they didn't have evidence of really where they could do anything about the fact that it was off. Lori didn't act like, anything had just happened. Mind you, she just saw her brother kill her soon-to-be ex-husband, and she's just nothing. But we all know that's how she is now, because that's how she acted when the kids were missing, and we were all seeing it on the news. Nothing. Like, dead. Like, really? Who's the zombie here? Maybe it's you, lady, okay? But anyway, I'm jumping ahead. So that's July. We have that moment. He's gone. She decides, okay, let's pack everything up and we are going to move to Idaho. So at the time when Vallow was murdered, I want to say they were in Arizona. And then they pack up and they go to Idaho. Now they go to Idaho because that's where Chad Daybell is. And at this point, Lori is all up into Chad Daybell. Okay? He's got the goods on the end of times, and she's like, I'm getting in with that because she wants to be there with him at the end of time. Okay? Which is going to be soon. So they said that basically a month and a half later, Lori, her brother, Alex, and the kids, JJ and Tylee, they relocated to Rexburg, Idaho, right? That's where Chad Daybell lived with his wife and children. Okay? Kay Woodcock, which is Charles Vallow's sister, I believe, she said that she saw JJ 3 more times on FaceTime calls after her brother was killed. Okay, so her brother was in July. September, they move. The last time the grandmother, his Charles' sister, says she saw him only for like 35 seconds on like a FaceTime call. Okay, and that was the last time that she saw him. They also talked about how her friend, Lori's friend, was there visiting, and there was a kind of like, I guess, things going back and forth about JJ was there. They saw him, they, said goodnight to him or something, and like the next day they were like, where's JJ? And no one knew where JJ was. I'm probably skipping ahead, but anywho, that's important to remember. Okay. That same time in September, mind you, Tylee, the last time anybody has reference of her is a photo of them in Yellowstone National Park. Okay? So, let's see. The last time, do we have a date? I'm just looking at my papers as I'm trying to tell you the story. We don't have a date of when the last time Miss K saw her grandson, JJ, but we have pretty much of an idea because they went to the Yellowstone National Park on September 8th, right? So September 8th, they take a photo with Kylie. I want to say it's Kylie, JJ, and it was Lori's brother, I believe, in the photo with them. And that's the last evidence of Tylee. Yeah, they said it's the last known photo. Okay. And then 2 weeks later, on September 22nd, that was when the friend said, she told her that JJ was acting like a zombie and there was all these like weird events that happened and stuff like that. And then the next thing you know, they see a sleeping JJ with her brother, Mr. Cox, and then they don't see JJ no more. Okay? So now, all this time, Daybell, right? He's married to a lady named Tammy. Well, Tammy winds up passing away in October of 2019. So now we have her soon-to-be ex-husband dead in July. Her kids missing, presumably missing, as of September 2019. And then the man that she's infatuated with, his wife dies in October of 2019. Now, real quick, Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy Daybell, they were talking about the strange encounter she had, and that a guy with a ski mask had suddenly came up to her, and he what was it? He pulled out like a paintball gun or something like that and shot at her a bunch of times. And she didn't think it was loaded. She said she yelled for her husband, and the man with the mask ran off. She said, he didn't speak. She didn't know, he obviously didn't get anything. He literally just showed up and was pretending to shoot at her. Excuse me. And then ran off when she screamed for her husband. Well, 10 days after that, she's found dead. And it said that she died in her sleep from natural causes. And just to let you know, she was training for the marathon when she died. So, Chad Daybell declines to have her body, go through an autopsy. Red flag. She was buried, I want to say, in Utah. And at the time, he got a insurance policy for $430,000. Okay. Insert here, shock face, oh, could it have been about the money? I don't know. I'll let you guys decide. So, as we continue on, she's now out of the picture. And we're going to skip ahead to November 2019. So in November of 2019, mind you, his wife just died in October of 2019. Chad and Lori get married in Hawaii. Oh, isn't that wonderful for the lovebirds, right? Her husband's gone, the kids are gone, now his wife is gone, now they can get married. So, I couldn't believe it. I was like, and nothing, no one thought this was weird. No one, I'm surprised, and let me know if you guys know, but I just always thought if I don't know, a perfectly healthy person just drops dead, maybe there should be an autopsy done. I don't know. I didn't know that the family could choose to have an autopsy done and not have an autopsy done. And the fact that he gets this money and the next thing you know, not even, was it a month later? Let me see. Did they give us a day? Okay. So, sorry about that. Little break because I was trying to confirm dates real quick. And so, the ex-wife of Chad Daybell, the one who passed away in October, She passed away in October 9th. No, 10 days after the October 9th. So that would have been the 19th of October. They get married on November 5th. Not even 30 days. And no one said, this might be strange. She wasn't even cold. Like, did she get cold? I think her body could have still been warmed and they were getting married. And then after their wedding, it looks like, yeah, they returned back to Idaho in November on the 26th. So that would have probably been close to Thanksgiving, sometime around Thanksgiving time, maybe. And that's when Kay, the grandmother to JJ, called because she wanted them to do a wellness check. Okay, because she hadn't seen him since September. Mind you, they would FaceTime all the time, right? So she's like, yo, I don't know where he's at. I need you guys to go do a Wearfield check, see what's going on with my grandson. And I think that's really what kind of starts the cops looking a little bit deeper. And that's probably a good thing. It's just a shame that it took till November for her to do that instead of like right away in September when she didn't hear from him again. But I believe, if I remember correctly on that story, they talk a lot about how Lori was telling everybody, different lies about where the kids were, like depending on who she was talking to cover up the fact that nobody was seeing them. Like, Tylee was with the grandmother or was over here, or, JJ, every time they would call, would like magically be either asleep or at a game or a function, or there would be some reason why they couldn't talk to him. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. But are you ready for the next step of the roller coaster? So, in November the 26th, they came back. That's around the time that we have the wellness checks from the grandmother for JJ. November 29th, her brother, Alex Cox, gets married, okay? He gets married in Vegas, and I don't know that they stay in Vegas, him and his wife, but it's important to know because November 29th, he gets married. By December, he's dead. That's a lot of people dying in July, August, September, October, November, December. What, 6 months? We have 5 people in this woman's sphere of influence who have died under mysterious circumstances. That is crazy to me. Wow. Yeah. So, okay. So he died, and in December, I believe the cops exhumed Tammy Daybell's body to have an autopsy done. They got the warrant to be able to do that, or to exhume the body. This whole time everything is happening, though, the family is believing the kids are safe. You need, Lori to say something, let everybody know that everything's going to be okay. Well, going forward, we jump ahead to February 2020. So this is right before really all the major shutdowns and everything with COVID, right? So in Hawaii, because mind you, at some point they wind up going back to Hawaii. And I know on the show it showed that they were subpoenaed there for proof of life, a wellness check sort of type thing. They had to produce the kids to the courts by a certain time and all this other stuff. Well, eventually, I guess that time came and gone, and they wind up arresting her in February of 2020, and that was 5 months after JJ was last seen. In Hawaii is where she was arrested, and then she was charged with 2 felony counts of child desertion, along with 3 misdemeanors, and held on a $5 million bond. And she pled not guilty, and the 2 felony charges were later dropped. So the felony was, which is the child desertion. I wish I could speak. Whatever. You guys know what I'm trying to say. But the 3 misdemeanors were still there, and I guess she was still being held on the $5 million. Now, Alex's Cox's phone is what led them to finding where the kids' bodies were buried. So after she was arrested is when I believe the cops got the information about the phone. And it's always so interesting with these stories how long it takes for that type of evidence to get back to the cops. Like, you would think something like phone records should be able to be given to you pretty quickly, but it seems like, you know, everything takes time. Like, there's not enough labs, or I guess lab technicians, or maybe they have to go through a lot of red tape, I guess, to get to the records for the cell phones and stuff. But it was his phone and them watching how it was pinging off of towers during the alleged times when they think the children were actually murdered. Okay, so they said that Tylee was last seen on September 8th, right, with the photo at Yellowstone Park. At that time, when they looked at Alex's phone, they could see in the early hours of September 9th that his phone was between, let me see. Yeah, between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. that he was moving between the apartment, I think it's like his apartment, and Lori Vallow's, because they kind of stayed in the same apartment complex, if I'm not mistaken. But they could see movement, right? And then at 9:30, Alex's phone placed him at Chad Daybell's property about 8 miles away. So there's movement with the phone at his sister's apartment, and then 9:30 that day, they can see him on Daybell's property. And that a short time after he left, Chad sent a text message to his then wife Tammy saying he had shot a raccoon and buried it in the pet cemetery, according to what the police were able to find. Yet investigators have not found a raccoon. So they didn't find a raccoon, but they did wind up finding the 2 children there. Very interesting. So we continue. So 2 weeks later, on September 22nd, JJ was last seen that night by Lori's friend. They have his phone, Alex Cox's phone, at Chad Daybell's property 4 times. In 2 of those cases, police believe he's inside the house from where it's located, or where the different things are located on the property. And then the other 2 instances, right, on September 9th and 22nd, he's there on the property, but it's not at the house location on the property, is in the different field positions, right, where they found the kids' bodies later. So that was in February. When they arrested her in June of 2020 is when they get the records from the cell phone. And then in June of 2020, that's also where, or when, they actually resume, or not resume, where they find the remains of the 2 children, JJ and Tylee. And where a crazy, windy story really just goes to just sad. Because really, when those kids weren't produced in September or October, and mom is walking around like it's every day is normal, and she's not thinking about or doesn't have any care in the world, I think deep down, all of us watching the story and listening to the story, we pretty much knew that the fate of these kids was not going to be good. So they found, I'm not going to talk too much about how the kids were, I guess, when they found him. They have stories, about what the remains look like, what happened to the remains. And let's just say those kids, yeah, they went through hell. So in February of 2021, they have here that basically Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell await their fate behind bars. Now, what's interesting is after the bodies were identified, her sister, Lori Vallow's sister, says, "We have prayed for the truth to come to light, but we never thought it would look like this. Tylee and JJ are completely irreplaceable in our family. There are no words that can capture this loss. Words are just inadequate. Our family will never be the same." That's the understatement of the century, right? Because how could it ever be the same? Your sister is somehow involved in her own children's demise because of her infatuation with Daybell. So, as of when was this done? I don't have on here when this actual story was written online, but I know at the time, at one point before they found the kids' bodies, Daybell wasn't even arrested, right? He's out living his life, living his best life. His wife is gone. He's got the insurance policy. She's up in jail waiting on, the fate of whatever because of her kids. He's living the glamorous life, right? Now, after, of course, they find the remains on his land, they do wind up arresting him, but I don't believe they've charged them for murder yet. There's other reasons. Yeah. Because Vallow pled not guilty to the 2 felony charges of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. If convicted, each charge carries a maximum of 7 to 5 years, a maximum sentence, of 5 years in prison. So if it's max 5 and she's being charged for 2, so that's like 10 years. But I'm thinking basically what the police are probably doing is putting her in jail on charges that they believe they can get, and then try and build the murder case while they wait, because they know the justice system is slow going. So by doing it this way, it provides them time to really solidify the murder charges, and I'm hoping that that's what they do. And it's a shame they can't dig up her brother and put him down for some charges, because I do believe that he obviously was very much involved and got the easy way out, considering that he died. And if he had any hand in murdering or hurting those children, I don't feel sorry for him. I don't. So, in looking at this, let me see. Okay, yeah, it does talk about it a little bit. In the lawyer for Mrs. Vallow says that she's entitled to all the privileges and rights that accompany our cornerstone beliefs of innocent until proven beyond a reasonable doubt otherwise. That's what he said in March of 2020. He said Mrs. Vallow is guaranteed access to a fair and impartial legal process. In the coming days, we look forward to the opportunity to work through the court system to bring a resolution to the matter. No words. Now, Daybell pled not guilty to 2 felony counts of destruction, alteration, and concealment of evidence. And if convicted, he also could face up to 5 years maximum in prison for each charge. So their next court date was supposed to be in March of, I think March 22nd of 2020, I guess. But it probably was postponed due to COVID. Because, like I said, right there in March, I think is when a lot of our shutdown started with that. Yeah, because I'm trying to think back. I like to forget the year 2020, but I think that's what happened. Okay. So right now, that's kind of where we sit, because they're waiting, I guess, for the court hearings and stuff. But I'm surprised that her lawyer isn't asking for it to be in another district or somewhere else. Like, you're talking about having a fair trial, but I'm like, how can you have a fair trial? Who doesn't know about this story, I don't know. So you guys, tell me what you think. Do you think that, like, we can't just put crazy out there and, like, walk away? You know what I mean? Like, to me, putting crazy out there on her is rude to truly crazy people. Like, this woman is diabolical. There's something. I didn't realize how close all these people died until I just was going through that to tell you guys about the story. July, September, November. No, October, November. Yeah. I mean, these people are dropping at crazy rates around these people. So I know I'm hoping and praying that all this time that they've gotten so much stuff together that there's no doubt they're gonna charge them both with murder. Um, like I said, I wish they could dig up her brother and charge him with murder. Like, I don't know, can they do that? Let's Somebody, if you know out there, let me know. Can somebody be charged with murder absentia? Like, absent? Like, I know he can't tell a story. They probably can't. But man, I wish he could. I'm like, dig him up and put his bones right there at the desk with the two of them during the trial. He should be right there. Uh, I just, yeah, they wouldn't want me on that trial, on that jury. I know that's for sure. Because I'd be like, yep, guilty. I'm like, they'd probably be like, no, we don't need her. They'll push me to the side because I'm like, the evidence is there. They were clearing out a way for them to be together, and that's all that was about. It wasn't about no zombies and all that BS. I think they used that as a way to kind of like make people go, oh, okay, and like try and like forget about it and move on, because any sane person talking to you about, yeah, I think my kid's a zombie, you're going to look at them like, are you okay? Are you all right? A zombie? Really? Okay. Yeah. So tell me, you guys, tell me what you think. Leave it down below in the more section. Let's have a conversation. Let's all talk about it. It's been quiet for a while now, so I know they're just waiting to, get stuff together for when they, I guess, are taking them to trial. But I'm interested. I want to know if they looked at her phone records, if they have like text messages and stuff, because I know they can get that information, because I'm sure they were talking back and forth together, her and Daybell. Yeah. I wonder where Alex was when Daybell's wife was being killed, because if she died like due to whatever poison or something, to do natural causes, I doubt the brother was there. So I'm thinking, did the husband do it? Like, are they going to go after him over his wife's death? Like, let's talk about that. This, pretty healthy woman who's out there training to do a marathon, and all of a sudden she miraculously shows up dead. Not 4 months, July, August, September, October. Yeah, 4 months after your mistress's husband is killed. Conspiracy? I think not. All right, you guys, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for crafting with me, talking about the story together. If you want to talk about it more, if you want me to go back and tell you more of her early history, just leave it down below. I'm going to read the comments. I hope to do more of these. There's another story that I was intrigued by. It's sort of like a documentary that I saw on Netflix, and it has to do with the Mormon church. It's funny that a lot of these things have a religious tie to them, but a friend of mine who's also a crafter, Jessica, I think she's under Jess Crafts on YouTube. She told me about this sort of like docu-series on Netflix, and I've been so intrigued by it. I've watched it almost like 3 times because it's so crazy. So it's one that I would like to talk about. Let me know if you might be interested. All I'm gonna say is about Mormons, artifacts, and counterfeit. Let me know if you want to know more. Okay. Thanks, you guys, and have a great day. And if you know of some stories that you think might be a good, fit for what I'm trying to do here, leave that down below too. I'll take a look at them. We can talk, discuss, figure out, I want to make this different than everybody else's. So definitely let's discuss. All right, you guys. Have a good one. Bye.